We're on a go.
Good evening. I'd like to call the Park and Rec Board for Tuesday, September 18th, 2018 to order. Roll call, please.
Mark Williams.
Here.
Mark Castonia.
Here.
Justin Miner.
Here.
Aideen Hess.
Here.
Deborah Lundberg. Here. Chris Zerval.
Here.
And Beth Klass is excused.
Please stand for the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Number 4, action on the agenda. Any additions or corrections? If not,
I have a correction on the report. It should be the 2018 lake report.
okay.
Is it in the minutes or what do you?
It says 19.
I'm not there yet.
Okay. Do you have a motion on the agenda with that one correction?
Make a motion to accept.
Second.
Motion and second to approve the agenda as presented with that one correction. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Comments from the public. Anybody here this evening to speak to anything that's not on the agenda? Okay, we'll move on. Written communications. Is it?
No, there's none.
There's none?
No.
Okay. I thought there was.
Yeah, there's
Yeah, there's one.
one.
Is it attached?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it's attached.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It's attached to the agenda if anybody, I mean, it's, I can't get to it right now where I am at.
Oh, it was just regarding, from Diane.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
The Tom and Carol Wellhouse, actually Diane Wellhouse, excuse me. Just commenting about the community center. They had an event there and how much they appreciated it. And they certainly hope to use it for further events.
Okay.
So, thank you.
Number 7, action on the consent agenda, which consists of the Park and Rec Board minutes, regular meeting from July 17th and the July-August Park Rec and Forestry expenditures. Get a motion on approving them?
Move to approve.
Second.
Got a motion to second. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Action items, 2018 Lake Report discussion. Melody.
Yes, thank you.
Welcome.
Like I do every year, I just wanted to come and give an overview of the summer at the lake. You have in front of you kind of the layout that I usually give you as far as the front page is just the overview of the lake as a whole, then kind of following with year by year comparison and the breakdown. So I just kind of want to start off with some positives. We did start this summer and end this summer full staffed. As you know, I've come to you before and that's been an issue, but we are very lucky in the village and we started and ended full staff. I only had to hire 5 lifeguards this summer, starting, which is very different from a lot of municipalities around us. They're more in the double digits of how, of the amount of lifeguards that we hire. So I had a lot of returning staff, which is great because then they're veterans. As I've said before, we did go through the whole summer. I've said it at previous meetings with no incidents at the lake this summer, which is a huge positive. It is a lot to attribute to the lifeguards of doing a lot of preventative lifeguarding and stuff like that. So we had no incidents this summer. We did add 2 really great things to the lake this summer. The slide, the frog slide, we added to the toddler area, which is a huge hit. And then kind of last minute, I feel like we decided to add the basketball hoop, which was a huge success. That's kind of more in the middle of the lake for that middle school area. It was such a success. Me and Rex are looking at adding another one possibly this coming summer. We had a record number for our Ashwaubenon Blast. We had great weather that day. We had 1,741 patrons on the day of the blast, so that was a big number for us. We also had our highest number that we've had at our doggy dip, which is we do at the end of the summer. We had 447 dogs come in our 3-hour time span at the lake. Our rentals were up just one this summer, but that was really good because we had raised our rental rates in the previous summer, so to see that that didn't go down was really nice. Otherwise, we had a pretty great summer, good weather. Our numbers were a little higher than last summer. Just about 400 more people came to the lake this summer than last. As we kind of go through the papers, you can kind of see year-to-date as far as what we spent on everything and how our expenses go versus the years previous. If you go to the third page, it kind of goes over our season passes. We did get a pretty large increase in our season passes this year. People took a lot more advantage of those and purchasing those to come to the lake. As you go through our admissions report, that just kind of gives you a breakdown of how many residents versus non-residents came, how many seniors, things like that, our past breakdown of where our money went for that way. And then on the last page is our concessions. That gives you a breakdown per item of where some of our products were and how they went over the summer. So this summer was a little different in the fact that we didn't come out on the positive end, which is disappointing, unfortunately. Some of those are kind of things that can't be helped. Our electricity bill and our water bill were higher than they have been in the past. I think the electricity bill could have to do with the fact of, towards the end of last summer, we have 3 spotlights out at the lake that show, turn on like an hourly basis after we close. Public safety had asked that those be maintained. We kind of fixed them up last year, and so now at night those lights show, and they're not LED lights, so they do take a little bit of energy, but as far as a safety standpoint, public safety, it makes it a lot easier when they drive through there at night to make sure that nobody's, jumped the fence or anything like that. So those were working all summer, so I think that attributed to that. And then just the water flow.
Also higher utility rates.
Yeah, that too. Also the water flow, we just have to keep a steady flow of water in there all summer, and that kind of, those 2 numbers attributed to the most of our deficit there.
Well, on your report here, lake supplies and concession supplies went up over $7,000 from last year. That's your deficit right there.
They did go up as far as, I mean, as far as cost-wise, where they were, where am I looking?
Expenses.
My year-to-date, expensive, yes. So I stayed within my budget. Rex and I have talked about possibly cutting down on some of those cafe items and things like that, and ways to sort through maybe some cafe staffing ideas and things like that to.
So the concession supplies went up almost $5,000, but the concession sales went up almost the same amount. So, I mean, it evened out. There was more, you know what I mean? So.
Yeah.
But
So-
what's your margin on that, Rex? There's got to be I would guess, a pretty good margin on that.
Typically, on most of the products, it's like between a 39 and a 42% margin is what the goal is to make on each individual project.
The sales probably should have reflected a higher, you must probably ended up with some inventory at the end of the year.
We always do.
Yeah.
A lot of the vendors, and this is something that we can do. We do have some product left over from the lake, and what those are used for then at the end of the season is we push those forward and use them for other programming things, for a lot of the senior events, instead of going out to buy. So it doesn't.
Yeah.
So it's spread out into the park and rec.
Correct. It's not that the inventory is no good and we throw it away.
Right,
We use
okay.
it. We use it for other events, which saves us the dollars and those accounts of not having to go out and buy. So,
Okay.
it's there's a couple always little tweaks that could happen, and maybe we need to do a better job of accounting. Well, we do need to do, try and account for that a little bit more, but.
And what was the, there was quite a bit of increase in the, and you might have, right at the beginning, touched on it, the lake personnel. Was there extra
Increase in
hire
wages.
this year?
So we were full staffed this
Yeah.
year, so that plays a part of it.
The numbers were the same. In terms of we were full staff, we didn't have the open positions as a number of the other area pools have. Like there are some pools that run short on staff, which means the staff have to work more days in a row for longer hours, which leads to a much lower return rate because people just don't want to work that long, that much, anymore. So we were fortunate in that the lake is still a popular place to work, and so that all those positions were filled. One of the things that's in here, and like I said, there's a couple different ways to look at different things, is it was a warmer summer than last year. It wasn't necessarily a scorcher. There was a couple of really hot weekends, and you can almost tell by one of the charts what weekends those are. I don't know if it's in the packet or not.
It's not.
But those weekends, the scorchers were actually really high on numbers. But what winds up happening when you have a warmer summer is that you have enough people there all day long where you really can't send anyone home. And you don't close early as much, and you don't have days off as much. And so that plays with the staff numbers and the staff expenses. So we got that going on. One of the things that Mel talked about, and I just want to reiterate it, there's a couple things that happened. There's a lot more people this year that took advantage of the passes. And so I don't want to say you lose money on the passes, it's a better deal for the public, but that hurts your individual revenue. So one of the things we're looking at is, okay, if that many people are buying passes, then obviously we took a look at the price point, and one of the things that we're proposing in 2019 is to slightly increase the cost of passes, to gain the revenue on that side, so we're not losing that revenue totally. The benefit. It's still going to benefit the families to buy, and individuals to buy a pass, but it also won't hurt us as much price point wise as where we were this year, which was a really good deal. So, so we're looking at the other thing too, and I'll be honest, just in overall total numbers, is we've got competition now. We've got competition with a free beach, with one of our neighboring municipalities to the north, and they advertise it on Facebook, and there's a lot of families that have been using that. We think we've got a wonderful product in terms of it is a enclosed area, and it is staffed, and it is safe, and it's guarded, and there's emergency procedures in effect. And so, but the bottom line is, there's a lot of people that went there, over to the other facility, and we've never had that competition before. So we're looking at, different ways to raise the revenue in terms of, a little bit on permits, rentals, and Mel's going to talk a little bit about the rentals too. We did pretty good again this year on that. And then some different price points also on potentially some admission costs. So we're trying to come up with ways to even that gap. We've done really well the last couple of years where we've been in the black for those years, but this was a little bit off year, so we're trying to figure out how do we get back to where the numbers where we need to be.
It says here you took in 110 bike to school passes and 760 Brown County Library reading passes. Do you have a dollar amount that you can attribute to that? Because those, I assume, are free passes that were given out.
Yep. So,
But-
and the bike to school is just that. Everyone who bikes to school is a reward.
Yep.
And the kids, typically it's elementary age kids get that free pass.
And I assume that the library did not pay for those passes for you to give them out.
The library does not. It's a way that we They're free.
Yeah.
We give them to the Brown County Library, and they have to set certain reading goals in one of the prizes that they
Yeah.
can choose from, as well as some of the pools in the city of Green Bay and some other attractions around town, is they can potentially take a pass to Ashwaubenon Lake.
Yeah.
The way we look at that is, they're typically younger kids, and those younger kids are going to bring friends with them, or they're going to have mom or dad, and then those friends or mom and dad are going to pay, and they're also going to be buying concessions from us, which have, a certain amount of, so it looks like a lost leader at first, but we figure the ancillary revenue that we come in, it's worth doing that. It also gets people to the lake that potentially have never been to the lake
Right.
before.
Yeah, I understand it's a good advertising policy, but I was just curious, because there's somebody from the outside that wants to criticize the cost of the lake. They look at the $6,000 in the red this year. They have to look at those numbers too and say that there were a lot of free passes given out, and that could compensate for some of that. That's why I was questioning what the dollar amount of those passes were approximately.
The majority, well, if not all of the passes that were given out are youth, so they're either going to be worth they're worth between $3 and $4, depending if it's a resident. Typically, the bike to school are going to be more resident passes, so that number times $3. And then the Brown County Library passes, I'm going to guess the majority are non-resident, so that would be a $4.
Okay.
So multiply however many passes times $4, and that would be the value of the passes that were given out.
Okay, just curious.
Sorry, Mel, I jumped on you a little
Nope,
bit.
that's
there.
okay. I don't really have too much more other than that. We did, like Rick said, our rentals, are up this summer just by one, but that's a lot of rentals to have in a summer. There are certain days that they can't rent, so minus those days, having 27 rentals is a lot, which is extra hours also on that for the staffing, so that staff cost is in there. But like I said, overall, it was a good summer. I had a great staff. I felt like having that number of veteran staffs was, and being able to retain that staff really made for a really safe summer for our residents and the people that come to the lake, which my job is primarily safety. Number one concern, safety of everyone that comes there. So I felt that we did really well in that aspect. So if you guys have any other questions.
Do you have any rescues this year?
I think we ended at 17 this year, which is a
Really?
pretty low number for us. So that's really good. That means that
That's
the
amazing.
lifeguards were working on their preventative lifeguarding, watching the kids that are weak swimmers, not letting them get out to the platform and stuff like that, stopping those things before it happens. Means that we have low numbers. But yeah, 17 is kind of where we were at, so.
It's a little bit of a different animal. Some people aren't as comfortable guarding at the lake as they would be at a water park or a regular pool because you can't see the bottom. So you have much less chance of, you have to recognize someone very quickly if they're, struggling in the water, because you don't want them to go down because it's much more difficult to retrieve someone who's gone down in water that you can't see. And that's what Mel's staff is trained to do, to be able to recognize that stuff. And then if an emergency would happen, then there's a whole different rescue procedure in terms of a rescue line where they dive down, because it goes down to 15 feet and it's black at the bottom. I mean, you can't see anything, you have to feel around. So there's different ways to bring people up. One of the things I did want to have Mel just talk is one of the proposals that we're bringing forward in the 2019 budget, just in terms of more revenue production. It's a little bit of a change from what we've done historically. We've talked about the passes a little bit in terms of the family passes, the season passes, having a slight upcharge on those. But Mel, you want to maybe talk a little bit about the youth admission in terms of what the allowable ages are now and what we're proposing for free admission versus paid admission?
So currently what we have is 3 and under are free. That's how it's always been. However,
Since about 1974 when it first opened.
so way before my time. So that's how it's always been. Rex and I, with the turnout that's happened this year, have kind of reevaluated and looked at that. If you look, you can see how many people on the admissions page. You can see that we had 3,000 people, or excuse me, 1,719 people come in under the three and under category. So Rex and I have kind of discussed it, and we're proposing that possibly lowering that age to 2 to 17 will pay, so under 2 is free. I think that a lot of places are going like that. I personally have a 3-year-old, and so I would intend and have paid at a lot of facilities for my son. So I don't think doing that under 2 is free would be looked at poorly, but it's also quite a bit of revenue that could possibly come in if we just change that age range. So that's kind of one of the things that we're looking at, is changing the age that we allow in as free.
The deficit that we have this year, while, I mean, it's not insurmountable to make that back up. And if we are able to do little bits and pieces here and there, we're hoping to be back in the black again next year, and that's one of the things that Mel and I discussed.
That's a great goal for us to shoot for, but I don't think it's imperative that we need to do it. I mean, we have a park and rec department for a reason. I mean, it's part of the community. It's who we are.
It is, you know, and I think we're fortunate in Ashwaubenon in a lot of aspects with the people and how they support us, and how the village board supports us, and the business base that we also have, both around here and in the industrial park. You know, but it's always, I always try and look at, especially the lake is almost a standalone thing, and to me the goal, and you're right, we don't have to, because
Right.
pools don't make money. They typically don't. But our goal, and I think you have to have that goal, otherwise you certainly won't ever come
Right.
close, is to at least try and recover those costs.
Yep.
And that's, you know,
This is
So
my
try and
first
tweak it to do
year
that.
we haven't been in the black, and so I've taken it quite personally. So I definitely have had these conversations, long talks with Rex about ways that we can, because I know that they're not profitable, but
I know that I own another business in town that has kids, and we charge $3 for an hour to 2 hours per kid from walking to 3. Walking to 3, and nobody has a problem with it. We'll get 100, 150 kids easy every time. At that, and so they're paying for it, but they want to do
Right.
something with them.
And I agree, and I don't think that anyone will really bark at this at all, changing it to the under 2.
you'll have a
Is
couple
it
of
under-
that to deal with.
Is it
I'm
under-
sure there's always a couple of whatever things, but yes. But there needs to be changes, and like Rick said, this has been this way since the beginning of time here, and there are changes that are.
It's not the
You know.
beginning of time, because I was at least 13 years old in 1974.
All right.
Before my
Beginning
time,
of time.
Yeah.
Are you saying under 2 or 2 and under?
under 2, so
Do you
2.
check IDs on those 2-year-olds?
We're hoping people are gonna get,
Okay.
you know, the honest truth. So yes, under 2 is free. 2 to 17 will pay, is what we're proposing.
1 year in the red's not a trend, so
No.
I don't think anybody here is too
No.
worried about it. It's nice to be in the black, and I know, and I was thinking before, you guys probably take it pretty personal when you look at that and go, darn, you know, but it's on a trend. But I want to back to, you addressed it before, Rex, the new competition, but you also kind of tied in the difference between the two, is ours is fenced in,
It's more controlled.
more controlled, we got, it's just a beautiful facility and safe. If you saw anything in the press, there's already been, I would say, minor issues at the other facility, which at some point, if things aren't watched a little more careful, they're gonna have issues over there. I wouldn't, I'd guard against, and what you're proposing, I don't have a problem with it, but I would guard against doing anything too drastic to push people farther away from us, because I think there's big potential over there of a problem more problems being created with more people coming in and certain elements coming in, things like that, where people are going to want more safety than a free place to go.
I couldn't agree more. So, well, good. That's all I have. If anyone has any other questions for me.
Anybody? Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Mel.
Yeah.
We're going to move on to budget update. Rex?
Budgets are due next week on Monday. Just real briefly, as a reminder, some of the capital improvement projects that have been, that we voted on to at least submit would be the Lake Sun Shelters, the Argonne Playground, Smith Park Trail, Oppinger Park Trail, and then potentially the Fort Howard Trail extension. Depending on how dollars go, I need to at least let you know again, I'm still a little up in the air on the Fort Howard Trail, only because I think long-term, there's still some improvements over there, i.e. we're still looking at a potential permanent restroom, as well as that's one of the sites that has been discussed for potentially a splash pad, if we would ever be fortunate enough to get funding to do that. If we're going to be putting the trail in from Broadway up into that section by the current shelter, I guess what I'd rather do is I'd rather fit the trail to wherever we put the restroom or the splash pad versus putting the splash pad or restroom to fit where we put the trail. So it's a matter of what comes first. And to me, you know, even if it's 5 years away, I think I would rather get that bigger amenity in there first and then figure out where the trail needs to go based off of that larger amenity, if we go in that direction. So I don't know where we are budget-wise. I haven't really sat down with Allison and Mary yet. Those budget discussions are still on the horizon. But I just want to let you know that my opinion of that project. I think it's a good idea to have the trail. I'm the one that suggested it, along with the, you know, from the feedback that we got from those community meetings when we were doing our park plans. So the neighborhood wants it, I think, and it's a good idea, but I think maybe the timing might not be the best to do in 2019. That being said, there's a couple additions to the budget that I'm throwing in there. I just wanted to touch base with you a little bit. We are talking about potentially doing some food truck rallies in Ashwaubenon Park and pairing them with some movies in the park and or special events at the lake. We've been working with one or two of the vendors that we had used at the Ashwaubenon Blast that has kind of a fairly good feel for the food truck owner network that's out there. They're all involved with the ones here in Green Bay and the ones down in Appleton, and so we're working with that individual on potentially having a couple more special events at Ashwaubenon Park, you know, along those lines. So that would be exciting to try something like that, to see how that would go over. Melody has already left, but I'm looking, typically we all go to the state conference, and the state conference is good. It has, you know, some decent speakers, and you know, we can bring in some outside talent for each one of the sections in the park and recreation field. But I'd like to send Melody to, for a change, to go to one of the national aquatic conferences. And typically they're either in California, Texas, or Florida. Next year is in Texas. And then I'm looking at proposing something for her to go to on that. It's just a whole different scope of the level of sessions, the information that's being learned. You get out of your box of what we're doing in Wisconsin and see what other agencies are doing across the country from coast to coast, as well as the different vendors and ideas that are out there. So that's being proposed, whether or not that happens, but I wanted to let everyone know about that. We are talking a little bit about some staff wages. As you probably know, the job market is very competitive right now. If you are a person looking for work, you have your basically pick of places to go to. You go up and down anywhere on Oneida Street and you can see, help wanted signs, and you see what a lot of the different places are paying wage-wise. And I know we had a wage adjustment a couple of years ago, I want to say about 3 years ago. And we're looking at a few different positions, again, to make that adjustment. We're looking at potentially doing some adjustments to the lake staff, specifically cashiers, concessionaires, and trying not to get too close to what the lifeguards make, because then if you increase one, do you need to increase the other to keep that gap? But also looking at some of our seasonal park maintenance, which I think is grossly underpaid by at least several dollars an hour right now. Alloway, Hobart, Howard, everyone's paying in the $13 to $14 range, and we're at 10. And that probably is one of the reasons why we have, an unfilled gang mower position, as well as an unfilled seasonal park maintenance position that's advertised right now, and we just can't get in applications for it.
That was my job. Didn't I tell you that?
Are you retiring from your other
No, but
25
remember I said
jobs?
that's
to
what I
do-
wanted to do is drive and cut grass.
If you can squeeze that time in, Mark,
Yeah.
I've got a spot for you. And then, I know this is a little bit touchy thing, but we're also looking at potentially doing something different with maintenance, general park maintenance, as well as community center maintenance. Right now, we contract the maintenance at the community center. They come in a couple days a week and clean it up to a certain level. And we are looking at whether or not that might be better done in-house, with other time supplementing our full-time staff in the field. So that'll be going, that's more of an internal discussion right now, but it's something that needs to be mentioned. Some of our facilities we can't keep up right now, basically. We can't keep up, so we need to figure out how to best get back on track in terms of just general park maintenance. It's not even special projects, it's just general park maintenance and how they are maintained. So, so we're trying to see where we can come up with some dollars to offset potentially hiring someone internally to keep the community center up to snuff in terms of the cleaning levels. Being a brand-new facility, I don't want it, I don't think anyone wants it, because we get so many compliments on it, to get run down. And
Yep.
all of us as a team, and there's nothing wrong with that. We're picking up trash, we're pulling weeds, we're wiping the bathrooms down every day when we go in there. We're cleaning the kitchen because the cleaning company doesn't do kitchens, you know what I mean? So, and you can only expect a rental group to do it to a certain level. So and we don't mind doing it, but that takes away from all the other stuff that we're supposed to be doing on top of it. So we're trying to, figure out what some of the best options are here. And those will be discussed with administration as the budget process goes forward, and try and come up with some ideas. Questions on, like I said, the budgets aren't done yet. I can do more of a complete report, down the road here, either before the budget process begins, once it's officially been submitted, or afterwards, of where we're at. But does anyone have any questions or comments right now on any budget questions or things that you would see out there that need attention?
I think we've covered it more and more. We have longer throughout the year than we have before in the past. So,
Yep.
I think we should, have a pretty good handle of it, I think, but I don't know if the rest of you guys think the same way, but I
Okay.
hope so.
Good to go then.
Anything else? Okay, we'll move on to August, September department report.
Well, there's a lot of different things in here.
Is there electric power at the Canterbury shelter?
We have wired it for power, but we do not have power. And at this point, I have not planned on putting power in. Like I said, we have run wires inside of the posts so that if we decide to get it in the future, it will be easy to hook up. We won't have to fish wires through things. But to get power to the shelter, it'd probably be another $4,000 or $5,000, and we may even have that remaining because we got a really good price on the shelter. But my concern on that, and why I didn't, or would rather not start out with the power in the shelter, is it's very close proximity to the house next door. So I don't want security lights shining in people's windows, you know, right next door. Nor do I want, you know, loud music or people hanging out late at night because of there being power there. Because I guarantee you that will solicit a number of phone calls to our office from some of the residents. So at this point, no, Mark, there's no power plan to be put in. We do have the ability to do it in the future, though, with the hole cutouts and some interior wiring that we did put in.
I'd like to comment that you did a nice job out there. I toured Gillis Park and Canterbury Park this morning. Real
Oh,
nice.
thanks. At Canterbury, Dean, we are also planning on putting in a sidewalk from the roadway,
Right.
which will go right along the side of the playground, kind of where the spring animals are, going into the shelter. So it's going to be an accessible shelter, easy for people to get to if they don't or aren't comfortable walking across the actual turf. And then we've got some picnic tables ordered, which will be permanently bolted into the concrete slab underneath the shelter. Those should be in within a couple of weeks. And then when when the sidewalk's installed, the picnic tables are in, then we'll do the landscaping and feather it back down and put the grass seed in and hopefully try and get it established for next summer. Other things that are going on in the parks, like I said, Canterbury Shelter is complete, the Gillis is complete. Pioneer Park Trail Extension, it was supposed to be paved today, but obviously with the wet weather, it's probably pushed back for another week now. You don't want heavy paving equipment on soft ground, even though the trail base has been compacted. Those asphalting machines are extremely heavy, and they'll start to sink down in spots, and you'll start to get waves on the trail. So we have to wait until the base has dried out to put the asphalt down. Fort Howard Park Playground, the spur that was asphalt and that was breaking apart, that has been removed last week, and the plan is to have that concreted this coming, if not on Friday, then early next week. Hendricks Concrete is going to be doing that. We've also got the cricket pitch at the sports complex. The Cricket Association is paying to have that paved. So they have a paved cricket pitch. That's a project we're working on, not coming from any Village of Ashwaubenon dollars, but being paid for with a little bit of money that was left over from a WPS grant, as well as the Green Bay Cricket Association. Recreation report. Obviously, we're taking our fall registration right now in dance. Our flag football program is going strong right now. We had our first games this past weekend. Finathlon was held in August. If you weren't able to make it, that went over very well. We're already starting to book bands and plan out the 2019 event. Neighborhood special events this year went over very well. We had well over 1,000 people attend the 4 different events over at Fort Howard, Smith, Waterford, and Sand Acres Park. That's the hot dog dinner, the bounce house, the parky games, followed by the movie in the park. So we're probably averaging easily 250 to 300 people at each one of those events. Those are growing in size. More people from the neighborhoods are coming in, which is what our goal is, to get people together and to meet, and so that you know who's living around you or in the blocks around you, I guess.
Rex, in regards to the Waterford Park social and movie, I had a resident approach me, and he had a concern with regards to the letter that was sent out as a reminder to the area residents. And in concept, he was okay with reminders with regards to the social, but his feeling was that the cost factor of sending out a letter may be more than his proposal was, or alternative was to put up signs like we did for the blast. I'm not sure what the cost of sending out letters was compared to putting up signs in the neighborhood. But in concept, he was okay with a reminder. He just thought that the cost of letters might be more expensive.
We've looked at doing postcards and letters, quite honestly, when you're all said and done, are going to be about the same. We could do signs instead of the letters. Our thought was we'd do letters for the first couple of years of these, just to get people used to the fact that they're ongoing events type of a thing.
Yeah, I was there and I surveyed the people and asked them, you know, how they found out about the social, and it was pretty much equal across the board with regards to the reminder letter, the brochure that we have in terms of the spring and summer, as well as the website. So, but when I asked them about the letter, they did like a reminder.
Okay.
Well, Mark, didn't this, when we were talking about the geese, about not feeding the geese, wasn't somebody mentioned putting up signs, but I don't know if it was in this committee or the other committee, but it's actually against village ordinance
Yeah, that's why,
to do that.
that's why we have to cross that bridge very gently.
Right.
You get a temporary permit.
So are you saying putting up the blast signs is against village ordinance?
Technically, yes.
Yes.
So, you know, you open up that can of worms, you know.
That's why I didn't say anything, and
Yeah.
What's putting up rummage sale signs?
that's.
Rummage sale signs are different than advertising.
Nativity Parish picnic things, that's not supposed to be put up there, or any of those type of signs by ordinance.
Yeah. So it's just a matter of you really need to try and limit the signage for
Yeah.
those type of events, so that the business, because if we're doing it, you don't want the business to say, well, if you're doing it, then we can do it, and then it's a code enforcement issue. So we just try and limit.
Right, and I think his idea was just, you know, maybe one was more expensive than the other,
Yeah.
you know.
Those signs are expensive as heck, too, so. But,
Like I said, a lot of programs going on, aquatics, a lot of people, I mean, Mel gave the aquatics report, so, and she kind of went over a lot of the things. Doggy Dip had record numbers. We still had great numbers. Our Learn to Swim program at the high school is going, I mean, it's gangbusters. Our classes are filling up. And Mel and I have been talking for the 2019 budget about how we can offer more classes, maybe at different times, and some different things we can do. There's a few things that we're going to try here. Forestry, Tim's got a lot of projects going on, obviously. A lot of ash tree takedowns were happening over the course of the summer. And we've got some tree takedowns that we still plan for Ashwaubenon. I mean, everything's kind of rolling along right now. Grass is growing, weeds are growing, so we're just trying to stay ahead of things as much as we can. Questions on any events that are listed on your sheet of paper, or things that you have heard are happening or have observed?
wonderful. Thank you, Rex. We'll move on to items for next agenda. Anybody have anything? If
For
not,
one of the upcoming agendas, whenever our next meeting is, I would like to bring our recreation supervisor in, David Rohrig, and I don't think we've done one of these before, but I like to do a end of season report on the summer park program, day camp. Definitely those two things, summer park program and day camp, just so you get to see some of the numbers of the kids that we're serving, as well as what some of the costs are, and then what some of the revenue is, especially with day camp. So
Okay.
Would we also then have that 2019 budget proposal for October?
For what's submitted, you mean?
Right.
Yeah, I mean, we can do that all at once. We can go over that, absolutely.
Okay. Anything else? You're hearing from down there.
Did a great job tonight, that's
Yeah.
why.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Right?
Thank you very much.